Hey, what's up, everybody? Cartez here, move abroad and thrive. We have made it back into Mexico. We went to the United States for a couple of weeks. My oldest daughter, Kayla, got married on November 30th. And so, congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Tim and Kayla Stewart. We have 4 daughters, 1 down, 3 to go. Had a wonderful time in the United States. I know a lot of people that we met here, people that are moving to Mexico from the U.S. I hear about how much they hate the United States. Me, on the other hand, I love it. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, the only reason I'm here is, to get my financial matters straight. But I had a wonderful time. In fact, I tried to extend it, but the cost of the tickets was to change those 5 tickets, and plus I had some other folks that were coming into Merida, relying on me to be here to help them find a place. So couldn't do that. So decided that we'll probably fly back in February just to hang out. But while we were there, we went out, saw family, and ate all the junk food that we shouldn't have eaten. Sometimes you just got this idea that you miss it, and so you want to try it, and it's not as good as it was when you left. And the only thing that I really was looking forward to was going to Barnes and Nobles to get me some books. That's something I've always done while I was in the States. Easy to go in there and spend $100 every week just buying books. I read a lot. The kids picked up the same habit as well. And so we went there twice and grabbed some books during our stay there. And like I said, had a wonderful time. And I mentioned this in another video. The cost of stuff was just astronomical, and that quickly reminded me of the reason why I left in the first place. And like I said earlier, my primary reason really is solely financial. For the goals we had, our expenses needed to be drastically cut so that we could play catch up. And December 9th, which is just a few days from now, I'll be hitting 50 years old. And so I got this 10-year fast track where by the time I'm hit 60, have a house or 2 that's completely paid off. So I won't have no mortgage or anything like that. Ideally in 2 different places, 2 different countries, and that way have something to leave behind for these kids once I cross over out of this world into the next life. And so got to get these finances in order. And as I mentioned in another video, looking at candy bars that go for $2.50 for sneakers, when here you can practically get almost 2 for $1. It don't make sense. I was like, wow. My daughter, my 21-year-old, was considering sticking behind and staying, and we were looking at some apartments way out in the rural side of town, outside of Atlanta. We're talking about almost an hour outside of Atlanta for a 1-bedroom. We're going for $1,200. I was like, man, this is insane. So just the basics, the fuel, living, and entertainment costs just have drastically soared. And now that I'm looking at the cost of things as it were in the States, now I'm 100% certain that I made the right call to leave the U.S. 2.5 years ago. Just ain't no way I'd be able to play catch up and be ready 10 years from now. And I've talked about this briefly before. Am I really seeing the financial benefits by staying in Mexico? I would say absolutely yes. For the first time in almost over a year, forever, first time ever, I'm actually going to have some money at the end of this month, at the end of December. Typically at the end of the year, I'm like, man, I'm broke. I don't have no money. I didn't save anything. I don't have anything to show. But this is the first time that I'm gonna have some money. And that's after flying 5 of us out to Florida, well, to Atlanta, and then rented a car and went to Florida. Buying dresses for everybody to wear, makeup, getting everybody's hair done, getting their wigs and all of that stuff, getting myself a suit, Airbnb, rental cars, the food. I have money left over. You know what I mean? And there's just no way that was going to happen in the past, let alone in the United States. And a lot of it had to do with, of course, coming up with a budget, having a plan, and just sticking to it. And I have some money left. You know what I mean? So I make that I'm really excited about that. That's big, because although in the past I made a lot of money, even during those years when I made a fortune, I spent it all before the end of the year. At the end of the year, there was nothing left. You know what I mean? I had more money coming in the next month, but some money just sitting there that's just there for saving, in this case now, saving and investing, didn't have it. And that's why I came here, to get focused, get strategized, come up with a plan, and stick to the plan. Now, it was kind of rough. We've been here 2.5 years. It was kind of rough trying to stick to the plan. But finally this year, kind of stuck to it. And the rewards are priceless. The reduced cost of living here in Mexico, honestly, it leaves more money in our pocket. Don't cost as much to go out to eat. Entertainment doesn't cost as much. Going to the movies is much cheaper. And just all forms of entertainment in general here in Mexico is just significantly cheaper. Trips to the doctor, cost for medicines, all of this, the reduced cost for medicines, all of this make it easier for me to save and have money left over. Now, knowing what I know now, what would I do differently to make this work even better? Because I made some mistakes. I'm gonna share them with you so that you can be better prepared and plan better. And one big mistake I made was something pretty recent. And I'm gonna probably hear I told you so's, because a lot of y'all warned me in the comments on some previous videos. I like, don't do it. Cortez, stick to your plan. I was hard-headed. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, oops. So I'm gonna talk about that in a moment, and then it could be the last thing I talk about, so make sure you stay tuned. So, again, here's the truth so that you can plan this a little bit better than I did. Knowing what I know now, and I can say literally coming back from the United States, seeing how costly everything was, I started comparing pricing with food as what it costs in the United States, where we particularly live or visited, and what it costs here. And food costs, depending on where you shop, man, it really ain't drastically different in the States as it is here in Merida. Now, some things are significantly cheaper, of course, restaurants and stuff like that, but I'm talking about like grocery store. The cost is not that significant. Now, there is a savings if you shop at the market and shop it and buy from the local produce, the butcher guy, you can generally save some money. It all sounds good in the beginning. Oh, I'm going to the market. I'm going to the butcher. But as time goes by, you're like, I'm going right over here to this damn grocery store and I'm gonna buy my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a work, especially when you didn't have no car. Taking Uber down in the Central or going to the market, trying to lug all that stuff around to save a few dollars, I was like, man, that got old real quick. But and this is not just about groceries. So let me explain. Knowing what I know now, because here's the deal: Merida, based on many reports, is now one of the most expensive cities in Mexico. Some rate it as number one. Many websites rate it as the most expensive city in Mexico. I don't know how that compared to Mexico City, because I would assume Mexico City was probably more expensive than anybody. But these lists are now ranking it right up there in the top three, and many of them have them at number one. So Merida is experiencing significant growth in popularity, and with that, costs tend to rise, and costs will continue to rise. So here you can expect to pay a lot more for things here than you would, particularly in Merida, pay for a lot more. It's going to be more expensive here in Merida versus other parts of Mexico. I know for a fact that many parts of Colombia, and Colombia in general, is significantly cheaper than Mexico. Food is much cheaper, real estate is much cheaper, rent is way cheaper. You can move into like a 3-bedroom condo, fully furnished, for like $350, $400 a month. Completely furnished, that's including utilities and everything. Because many parts of Colombia, they don't have air conditioning units because the weather stays like 78 degrees all year round, depending on where you're at. So there's no need for a heater, so they don't charge you no electricity. That's all wrapped up in the rent. And like I say, food, vegetables is significantly cheaper there than it is here. So you'll see a drastic difference in cost of food at the grocery store. And restaurants as well. And I hear even places like Southeast Asia is even cheaper than Colombia. So those types of savings, by living in, if they had to do it over again, they had to pick somewhere else or do this from the start, I'd probably pick another place. And Mexico is not completely off the list. I'm just saying Merida is kind of, the costs are rising. They are high, you know what I mean? So, but knowing what I know now, following my plan, I'll probably live somewhere else. One, so it'll allow me to save even more money much faster, especially now with my 10-year plan. These 2.5 years went by quick. So them 10 years, I got 10 years, them 10 years gonna roll. So that's why I'm saying what I know now. I gotta get more aggressive, be more disciplined, more strategic, and more savings would allow me to buy or build a house much faster, pay off all of my debts, save more money, have more money to save and invest, and it just essentially allowed me to reach my goals much faster. If we live somewhere else where it was significantly cheaper, we probably could end up with a surplus and be done 1, 2, or possibly 3 years earlier with achieving our goals. How cool would that be? You see what I'm saying? So again, just knowing what I know now, seeing what I'm seeing now. Issue is, could I up and go? I could, but my kids like it here. They want to stay. They'll be done with school three more years from now, 2-3 years, and so you probably just sit tight. So again, I'm just putting this out there for y'all to think about. Are there deals still to be had in Merida? Absolutely. Me personally, I would probably suggest living in the outskirts to try and get some of these savings, because they are, the growth here, the building is crazy. The new Mayan train that they've been developing that's going to transport folks from Cancun to Merida, that's supposed to be done in a few weeks. And that right there is shooting the value of everything up. They're building high rises all over the city. Growth is coming, folks is flooding in. And I'm not talking about foreigners like from from outside of Mexico. Many of the folks that are flooding in are wealthy Mexicans from other parts of Mexico, other states, fleeing the violence from cartel, narcos violence. So they all flowing into here. Then of course you got foreigners from different parts of the world moving in here. So the costs are going up. You know what I mean? So what else would I do differently? And it's hard to know this when you first arrive because most folks don't really know if they're gonna be sticking around. A lot of folks think they're gonna stick around and they gone 3 or 5 months later. So it's kind of hard to know this, but knowing what I know now, I probably would have purchased a car. I spent a lot of money on rental cars over the last 2 years. Yes, I get to write it off on my taxes because of my business, but that's money that I could have easily just stacked away, been using for emergency funds, using that extra money for investing, or just using that money just for more travel, to go out and explore. I spent a lot of money on some car rentals, because the rental fees here are just ridiculous. They're ridiculous, they're outrageous. Like right now, because it's busy season right now, cars are easily going for like 18,000 pesos a month or 20,000 pesos a month. That's the discounted monthly rate, which is almost like $1,000 a month. Weekly, and again, you get the discount because it's monthly. Weekly, you could easily be paying about 10,000 pesos. Is that right? About 8,000 pesos a week, which is about $400 a month. A week, 400. Well, right now, today's exchange rate about $500 a week. It's crazy. There's plenty of cars that you can buy used on Facebook Marketplace for like $5,000, $6,000, and you're done. So you combine that with rental cars and Uber rides and all that. Even though the Uber rides are cheap than what you would spend in the US, it adds up. You see what I mean? It adds up. So I probably would have get a car. So if you have a car and you're seriously considering making a move down here, you might want to go ahead and bring it down because it's convenient. We got by without a car for the first full year. Going into the second year, we rented cars more often. So, so technically, we got by without a car for a year and a half, 2 years. The house that I'm in now, the owner, the landlord had a car, threw it into a package. And so now we have a car that we ride around in. Downside of that is I got pay a little extra a month, and I gained 20 pounds since I've been riding that car. Versus when I was out here on these streets, these mean men of the streets, walking and talking. You know what I mean? So if you got one, you may want to bring it, because once you rent a car, it's hard to give it back up. And that's why we was stuck in these cars, is because I ain't want to give them up. I just did not want to give the car up. So kept them longer than I needed to. What else would I do differently? And this one is a hard one to admit, because many of y'all warned me. When I was out there looking at these houses, trying to find a new house. And I got a good deal on the house that I'm in right now. I do wish I would have went with something that was much cheaper. Even with me, I know better, but I still got caught up in wanting the glitzy, the glammy, the nice house. And that's the danger when you start increasing your budget and go looking at these nice houses. It's hard to back it back down and get what you should. There was a house right around the corner that was being rented for 8,000 pesos. That's 3 times cheaper than what I'm paying now. 8,000 pesos a month. Now, it ain't fancy as the one that we're in now. Didn't have a pool. It only had 3 bedrooms. It was unfurnished. Didn't have a pool. compared to the one that I got now, 4-bedroom with a pool and all the fancy stuff that come along with it, the amenities. But I certainly would have enjoyed paying 8,000 pesos a month versus 24,000 pesos a month. Because them 30 days, they come quick. They come fast. And I cringe every time I got to pay. Fortunately, in a much better position financially, it doesn't hurt, but it's still painful because I didn't have to do it. Now again, don't get me wrong, I love the place that I'm in. Everybody's happy, kids happy, everybody got their own room. We can run our air conditioning 24/7 without worrying about how much the electric bill gonna be because we got solar. But I could have made it work with the 8,000, and this is why it's important to stick to the plan. Every decision you make have to line up with your goals, and I tried to justify it when, you know what I mean? God. So, whatever your plan is, whatever your budgets are, man, you continue to stick with it, continue to check against the plan. Whatever decision you make, just make sure it's in alignment with the plan. Like I said, we're all comfortable, we're all happy, but there's a whole lot more I could have done with that extra money. You know, it wasn't necessary. Considering the fact that my primary reasons for moving here was financial, I got caught up, y'all. I messed up on that one. But nonetheless, I'm happy. What else would I do differently? And again, it's just me being open and for real with y'all, hoping that perhaps if they help somebody as they start to plan. Because I should have stuck to the plan. What else would I have done differently? Well, when I first got here, I wish I would have allocated more to my savings. And I wish I would have started investing much sooner. You know, when I first got here, I put at the least amount of money towards savings. I wasn't as aggressive as I should have been and could have been. And one of my goals back then when I first got here was to learn how to invest and start investing. It was something that I wanted to learn, but I kept putting it off. I wish I would have done it more sooner. I finally broke down and started learning how to trade with Robert. You know, y'all know Robert. Have that website, slowlifetrading.com, for those of y'all that are interested in possibly learning how to day trade. If I had more money saved up for trading, investing, and savings, I would be much further along now. I probably, in looking back, had I did this from day one, I'd probably be in a position right now where I probably could be earning a full-time income solely from trading. If I would have stacked my funds up much earlier and started trading. But like I said, I kept procrastinating, I kept stalling, putting in very little and not taking action. And now, in retrospect, now that I understand Robert's trading strategies, man, I wish I would have been more intentional and aggressive in saving up my money for the purposes of investing, having money saved up for saving and having money set aside exclusively for trading. Because using his 0.5%, earning a 0.5% model, it makes sense to me now. And letting it compound, not trying to go out here for these big wins, and this keeps me safe, very less risky. I get it. I finally get it. So going into 2024, I'll be much more intentional in learning how to manage my finances more. I'm going to be more intentional in saving, which when I got back, when we got back to Mexico, I went back, revisited my budget, and I started tightening up some things. We used to go to OXXO almost daily. and fooling around with these kids going to OXXO to get this, get that. I'm like, hell no. I'm giving y'all an allowance. You want OXXO, you spend your money on OXXO. You ain't spending mine on OXXO. Because if you ain't careful, folks will be spending your money. So I got a lot more strict on that. And we've been more intentional on cooking and not waiting. I'm gonna tell you, I've been buying too much groceries at one time and seemed like a lot of that stuff get thrown in the trash because it don't get used. So now I started buying smaller quantities of stuff. Because that's money. When you throw that food in the trash that went bad, that's cash. So I've been much more of a stickler for that. And so, like I say, I want to be more financially literate. I want to understand finances better. So that's something I'm going to be studying more and learning more about to make sure we're on our trajectory for this 10-year game plan. Because sticking to my budget these last 8 months have worked some incredible wonders. And I feel like we're finally getting it right. And that's with me just being halfway sticking to the plan on the budget. And like I said, I got money left. I feel actually comfortable. And that's half-assing it, excuse my language. I can't wait to see the results next year now that I'm 100% gonna be intentional. You know, so man, I hope y'all found some of that helpful. Like I said, I had a good time. We actually drove to Cancun because we had this rental car. We drove to Cancun to catch our flight. We flew out. Normally, I wouldn't be trying to waste my time driving down to Cancun or taking a bus and all that nonsense to save a few dollars, but 5 tickets and the savings by flying out of Cancun into Atlanta was significant. I think it was almost like $500 difference flying into Atlanta from Cancun versus Merida. It's like $500 difference per ticket, or $400 per ticket. I mean, that's $2,000 savings. So I was like, I got a rental car. I drive down there. The gas, I think I filled the tank up for like $50. We got all the way down there on half a tank. And the tolls, we had to stop at 3 toll booths. I think we didn't pay, I can't remember what it was, but it was no more than $40 in tolls, if that. I got to look at the receipts. And then I parked at the airport, had many options. You know, it was a 3-hour drive from my driveway, 3-hour, 15-minute drive from my driveway to that airport parking lot. And we went at night, which is something I like. I said, you know what? Okay, I like this. 3 hours and 15 minutes from now on, if we got to fly out of Cancun, we'll book our flights early in the morning because they had like a 6 o'clock flight, an 8 o'clock flight, and an 11 a.m. flight. So, but of course, we had to get there 3 hours early. So for the 8 o'clock flight, we had to be at the airport like at 5 a.m. or something like that, which means we left at 2 a.m. There was nobody on the streets. Smooth sailing, no traffic. Then I was intentional on flying back on Sunday, returning back. So we came back on a Sunday. Again, no traffic. No traffic on the streets, none. So I think it was about 3 hours and 20 minutes, 3 hours and 26 minutes coming back from Cancun. So I parked the car at the airport. It was expensive. On the website, it said it was gonna be like 200 pesos a day, which is $10 a day. But of course, the website wasn't updated. It ended up being 270 pesos a day. But even then, I wasn't complaining. Because some of the other parking spots down the road was like $8 or something like that. Had to take a shuttle, $8 a day. Then you hop on the shuttle, go to the airport, and then when we leave the airport, when we land, we gotta hop back on the shuttle, go back to the parking spot. I was like, man, I just pay this extra money, man. You leave the car at the airport, so when we get off that plane, we walk straight into the doggone car, and we're done. I ain't got time to be doing all that. So that's how it worked out. It worked out excellent. So yeah, we had a wonderful time, man. A wonderful time. So think this thing through as you start to plan your journey, whether it's to Mexico, Southeast Asia, South America, Central America. There are places all over the world where you can make this work. For some of y'all, again, as I mentioned before, if honestly, and I've said it before, the language barrier is a bit much for many people. And if that is the case, don't waste your time. Research countries where they speak English. And Southeast Asia, I'm talking about places like Thailand, Vietnam, English is well spoken in those parts of the world. So do the research. Make this easier on yourself and less stressful. Because you're gonna be the one living there. And it's gotta be right for you. Not for everybody else. It's not all about 100% about the finances, even though for me it was. For me, finance, I'm like, okay, finances is number one. I can deal with anything else. But everybody else might not have that mindset because that language will mess a lot of y'all up. And it'll send you running. I had somebody here not long ago, it was like, came down here for a couple of weeks, left after 4 days and was like, language too much for me. I'm too old for this. But at least he knew. And so that's why I'm saying do your research. So listen, if you'd like to hop on the phone with me and do a telephone consultation, hey, schedule one. There's a link in the description, moveabroadandthrive.com/consultation. Let's hop on the phone and talk about your strategy, talk about your plan. Hey, gotta have an income wherever you're going. So hopefully many of you that are making this move, most folks that I've been dealing with helping find a place to live, most folks have been retired. They're drawing the pension. They're drawing retirement income. If you don't have that, you need to find a remote job. I got a link down below, help you find remote work. And click on that in the description as well. Also, if you haven't joined our VIP membership, take a look at that. In that area, you'll be able to post questions, ask me questions directly, as many as you like. I've been gone for about 2 weeks, so I'm gonna hop in there today. Today will be my first time hopping in there, seeing what's going on. So I've been gone for my daughter's wedding, so I'm about to hop in there and answer a bunch of questions, and take a look at it. Link down below in the description, and I'm gonna get some interviews lined up, and where y'all can talk to my guests as part of VIP membership, etc., etc. So, moveabroadandthrive.com. Thank y'all for watching. I got some new videos that we'll be posting up of houses and properties, etc. So stay tuned.